Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments. Every Friday, Lord willing, 3 o'clock Central Time. You can, by the way, go to Ministry Moments YouTube and subscribe, and you can watch this at your leisure as it comes in as you have time. But we'll go live every Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time. Also, I'd recommend this. Go to solvechurchproblems.com, solvechurchproblems.com, and subscribe there because there's a lot of other material that's available there that'll be of help to you. So I hope you'll do that. But today I want to talk to you about avoiding schisms. Church splits are painful. They're hurtful. So many people get hurt, and it's almost like you're being forced to choose sides and so on. And schisms are just not supposed to exist inside of a local church body. Now, there's no such thing as a one world church. There's no such thing as a union of churches. That's not biblical. But there's a unity in the local body. Every church is different. That's why God just used and conceived the idea of independent Baptist churches and to be independent, not a part of a denomination or what. That's Catholic, universal Catholic. We're not that. And by the way, Baptists were around a long time before there were any Catholic churches too. And now don't get me started. But anyway, I want to talk to you about avoiding schisms. I just created them, didn't I? But I want to talk to you about avoiding schisms. I made number one. I think very practical and help you. Not a long broadcast, but I think something here for you. Number one, be a best friend to everyone and yet no one. Be a best friend to everyone and yet no one. Your wife ought to be your best friend. Your husband ought to be your best friend. If you're a lady watching this broadcast, your dad ought to be your best friend. Your mom ought to be your best friend. The reason you have so-and-so, a little girl says, so-and-so is my best friend. The reason they say that's because they tell them things they will not tell their parents. Some boy said, well, so-and-so is my best friend. And again, they say that because they're telling them things they will not tell their dad. But their dad's got more sense and mom's got more sense, a little finger, than your best friend on that you claim to be your best friend, that you divulge all these secrets to and everything. Get you in trouble is what it's going to do. Never be afraid if you're a young child, a young son, a young girl, daughter. Don't be afraid to go to your mom and dad. Don't be afraid at all. They'll help you. Oh, they'll scream at me. No, Satan told you that. You go to them and let them help you. All right, here we go. Avoiding schisms. Number one, be a best friend to everyone, yet no one. Don't run. Don't have a clique. Don't run with just a certain couple and run with a certain crowd. Don't do that. Everybody ought to be welcome. Number two, do not allow subtle criticisms. Don't allow subtle criticisms. When the word but comes in, I love him, but, and so on. I preached a sermon one time on Billy Goat religion. All these buts. I led Johnny Pope one time. I don't know. He said, I'll tell you one thing, you can't fill these pews with a bunch of butts. But that was Johnny now. That wasn't me. So number one, be a best friend to everyone and yet no one. Number two, do not allow subtle criticisms. Number three, avoid critics. You know who they are. There are loyal people, disloyal people, and loyal people. Our loyal people are the ones that never take a stand either way when they're in the middle of it. They're kind of, ooh, ah, wow, wow, wow. They go on for about 5 minutes and never declare themselves, do they? Then they get called before the preacher and they say, well, I didn't say anything. You didn't declare yourself. So number one, be a best friend to everyone and yet no one. Everyone ought to feel warm around you. You ought to make their life better. Number two, do not allow subtle criticism. Don't allow it. Don't allow it. I love him, but I like him, but I like her, but don't do that. Number three, avoid critics. You know who they are. Be kind to them in the hallway, but avoid them. Don't go out to eat with them. Number four, no hallway decisions. Talking about avoiding schisms. They'll catch you in the hallway, Pastor, and they'll say, what about, and then my wife used to say about children, don't ever say yes. They mumble and so on. But the biggest mistake a mom or a dad can make is to say yes to a child who's mumbling just to get them to move on, because you don't know what they're saying. And boy, she was right about that. Number one, be a best friend to everyone, yet no one. Number two, do not allow subtle criticisms. Number three, avoid critics. You know who they are. Avoid them. Number four, no hallway decisions. Get you 3x5 cards, carry it around, write it down. I need to talk about this when I meet with the principal. I need to talk about this when I meet with the bus people or the Sunday school people or the financial department. I've got to just write it down and give yourself a chance to seek out some advice from the expert in that area. Don't answer in the hallway. You may be subverting something that it's like your kids going to mom after going to dad. Dad said no. And so they go to mom and try to pit one against the other. All right. Number one, be a best friend to everyone, yet no one. Number two, do not allow subtle criticism. Don't do it. Next, avoid critics. Number four, no hallway decisions. Number five, preventative, not curative teaching and preaching. This is how to avoid schisms, potential splits, potential splinters, if you will. Preventative, not curative teaching and preaching. Look ahead. Look ahead. You've lived long enough. And this thing of not being a novice has nothing to do with knowing scripture or not knowing scripture. It's about knowing life. And you don't want someone to pass you that doesn't understand life and the consequences of bad decisions, of our lack of heavenly wisdom, earthly wisdom getting involved. So you want preventative, not curative teaching and preaching. Brother House had a great little book, and it was never really a very big seller, not a popular book, but treatment of different church members. I hate the cover on that thing. I don't know who designed that thing. I hate that cover, but it's a great book, and things like that you could teach. I have a book on dealing with personal conflicts. That's could be a great series on Wednesday night. Again, all of it is preventative, not curative. After the horses are out of the corral, it's too late. After the cows are out of the corral, it's too late. But to think ahead and to learn from Brother Hiles and Brother Robertson, Lester Roloff, and even myself, to learn from, I'm starting my 49th year, April 2nd, the mistakes and there's some things I wish I could go back and do over again, but I can't. And I'm associated with some things that I don't know. If I went back, I'd probably do it again. Number one, be a best friend to everyone and yet no one. Number two, do not allow subtle criticisms. Don't allow it. Number three, avoid critics. Number four, no hallway decisions. Don't make decisions in the hallway. It'll come back to bite you. Number five, preventative, not curative teaching and preaching. Think ahead. Think ahead. Number six, write letters of appreciation. You have people doing jobs, and they may come to them and say, well, nobody even knows what you're doing. And they don't appreciate what you're doing. No, you write letters of appreciation. Let them know you appreciate what they're doing. Don't give Satan a foothold. Number seven, do not believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you hear. You know, some people have a hidden agenda and you don't know what it is. When people come to you and they blurt something out, don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. If you're wise, you'll check it out. Don't believe everything you hear. Number one, I'm talking about avoiding schisms in your church body. Number one, be a best friend to everyone and yet no one. Number two, do not allow subtle criticism. Number three, avoid critics. You know who they are. You don't have to spend time with them. Avoid them. Don't go out to eat with them. Don't go to lunch with them. Number four, no hallway decisions. No hallway decisions. If somebody presses you in the hallway, preacher, preacher, da 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 da. Don't answer. Don't give an answer. You say, look, I got to think about it. Number five, preventative, not curative teaching and preaching. So important. So important. You know, a lot of sermons that you just preach out there on Sunday night and you think that'll solve that problem would be better served if it were a series on Wednesday night. And I'd give you 15 weeks or even 20 weeks to be able to deal with that subject in a good and fair fashion. I like Wednesday night. I like Wednesday night teaching. I love the way Dr. House did it, the role play and all, but he dealt at length with things that were of major issues. I did a series on the simplicity of the gospel. And after 20 weeks, my wife said to me one Wednesday night, you know, if that thing is so simple, why are you still on it teaching it? I hate spiritual women. And it did go 30 weeks. But it was great because one door opened another door and opened another. I loved it. I loved it because God kept giving me things all the time. All right. Avoiding schisms that will lead to splits. Number one, be a best friend to everyone, yet no one. Number two, do not allow subtle criticism. Number 3, avoid critics. Number 4, no hallway decisions. Number 5, preventative, not curative teaching and preaching. Write letters of appreciation. Number 7, do not believe everything you hear. Number 8, keep soul winning the main thing. Keep soul winning the main thing. Brag on soul winners. Brag on your soul winning crowd. We average 625 every week going soul winning. Oh, it was exciting. Man, it was exciting. That crowd you see behind me, that lower floor was full on Thursday night for soul. It's exciting. It's exciting. All right. So keep soul winning the main thing. Next, let everything else be a byproduct. There would be no letters to type if there weren't souls saved. There would be no buses to work on if there were no souls saved. There would be no Christian school if there were no souls saved. You see what I'm saying? There would be no youth department if there were no souls saved. Everything, there'd be no Sunday school if there weren't souls saved. So keep the main thing, and that is pushing church-wide soul winning. That's got to be the main thing. All right. Number 10, do not fellowship with churches going a different direction. Direction is everything. I don't care about the distance. I don't care if they got bigger buildings and better. I don't care about that. I want to know what direction you're going. And if you're going to criticize Dr. Jack Hyles, we're not going the same way. We're just not going the same direction. No, we're not. No, we're not. Now, if you're going to criticize Lester Roloff, Lee Robertson, Tom Malone, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Those are great men of the past who did great things. Now, when you start running 5,000 in Sunday school, then you might be able to make some statement. Even you won't then, because you get to doing that well. You're not going to be criticizing those who did better than you. We're on the same team. I'm glad to be on the same team. It's tickled about being on the same team. But if I find you're going a different direction, it'd be better for you pastors to have your own youth conference. It'd be better for you to have your own Bible conference. You have your own, and name it your own. I'm not opposed to Patch the Pirate, Ron Hamilton. I'm opposed to them. But I wouldn't use their name. You never know what's going to happen on a national scene. Come up with your own name. Again, that's not a criticism, Ron, or that group of great musicians at all. No, not at all. You're missing the whole point. The point being, you have your own. You have your own. Name it your own. Make it your own. Let them come to you. That way you don't have to worry about what your kids are being influenced by when they go somewhere. Okay, that's Ministry Moments. Now that I've made you good and mad, God bless you. Keep up the great work. I know it's tough. I know it's a battle, but it's worth it. And one of these days, it's going to be all over for you. And it's going to be all over for me. I've got to keep plugging. I've got to keep going. And you too. Okay. Ministry Moments, YouTube, go there and subscribe. SolveChurchProblems.com, go there and subscribe. You'll automatically get Ministry Moments. And you'll get our weekly blog. You'll get so much material there. It'll be a blessing to you. Tomorrow, Saturday, soul winning time. You rascal. You make sure you go soul winning, get somebody saved, and get them lined up for Sunday morning, and get them to Sunday school. And by the way, when you talk to them about going to church, you ought to don't say Sunday school's at 9:45, 9:30, or 10 o'clock, and church is at 11. Don't do that. Church is at whenever Sunday school starts. So you tell them, I'm going to pick you up for church. Don't even just have a distinguishing statement about the difference between the two, and you go by and get them. God bless you. Have 5 lined up by Saturday night, and somebody will come with you on Sunday. God bless you. Have a great day soul winning tomorrow.